Join us for an enlightening experience where you will gain a deeper understanding of the purpose and essence of opening your eyes. This is your chance to enhance self-awareness and personal growth with a shift in perception that provides a fresh outlook on life. Embrace the journey from consciousness to superconsciousness. Coming live by Barrett Kunyan.
Well, here we are again. Welcome, Martina Grubmüller. It's an honor to have you on our platform, Martina. To be transparent with you, as always, I am not too familiar, but there was, the pleasure of seeing Yes Sir, and you had an amazing interview and connectivity there. And I said to myself, I have to reach out to this wonderful lady. I was really taken by your beautiful energy and your understanding about the subject of consciousness and decoding this incredible platform that we live on, planet Earth. Martina, for our viewers, can you just
say thank you? Let me just say thank you as well. Thank you for inviting me to have a lovely chat with you. And I've just realized we've just had a little chat before. You are actually with an Austrian lady for 29 years now, and I think we're just going to throw that in because sometimes when people resonate, somehow it's like I'm Austrian as well, and you are literally in Austria at the moment, which is quite fun, isn't it?
It is, and it's just wonderful. I mean, the circumstances in which we're here at the moment. Katrina's mother is going through the process of transitioning, and we visit her every day. So it's for me the understanding of what is death. It's not something to be frightened about, and that's one of the few things that we are taking to her in the care home. So comforting as best we can with that particular frequency, if you will, because for a lot of people, there's misconceptions reference to what this transition is. I mean, I don't know where to start, but as we started there and we're going with the flow, but it's quite interesting, this so-called understanding the concept of what is death. I mean, for some, it's just an illusion. For some, it can be quite a frightening experience, depending how attached we are to the physicality of which we've incarnated into.
I mean, that's a huge topic, anyhow. But I think what I would like to say here just now is because we're going through that process. I've had the opportunity a couple of times, sadly enough, but to be with somebody who was on the way to move beyond the veil. And I can't say I appreciated at the time, not all the time, as an honor. But when I look back now, it's a true honor to be present with somebody when they're going through those stages. And I think, so good on you to create the space and to make the time and to really, witness that journey. Because it's exciting in a way, and you got to be careful who you're saying that to, obviously, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's I went into podcasting about 2 years ago. I mean, originally I'm from Cyprus. I was born there, and my parents still live in Cyprus, although they lived in the UK for a while. But they're going through a degree or two hardship reference to the aging process. And I was going to say, because I spoke, my mother is very young at heart, although she wouldn't want me to say this too loudly, but she's 85 years young. But there is such a youthfulness presence about her, although the body's kind of aged a bit, but the spirit, the energy behind it is very youthful and very, very alive. And I feel that that's one of several reasons why people find her very nice to spend time with. She's very energizing. She's very uplifting, very bubbly kind of person. Yeah, but she unfortunately going through this process of my father's very, very ill at the moment, and unfortunately his kidneys have packed up, so he's going 3 times a week to dialysis at the moment.
Yeah, that's
so
tough.
it is tough, and it's pretty much a handful.
That puts a strain and stress on the relationship, and but it's actually interesting you mentioned that, because that we could lead that, because we're thinking of talking a little bit about the seismic activity in the Aegean Sea, right?
Correct.
Talking about stress, that's a beautiful little bridge to walk into the stress that is building up or has been built up underneath the surface in the Aegean Sea, right, all around Santorini, that is causing those earthquakes, right? That is causing that need to release energy. And I looked a little bit, I followed it a little bit. And I was thinking, so how I love the mirror principles. I always work with a mirror principle. And whilst I started using it in the very beginning of my life, actually, to, find out how people were ticking and how I was, sort of drawn into it and tangled with it. What could I learn through them, about myself? Now I'm looking at what's happening out there in the collective consciousness, what's happening in nature, and how is that actually impacting us as human beings, and how is that impacting our revolution, our evolutionary journey of consciousness. And when you look at the island, I saw the human face inside. And then and a friend of mine, she said, "Oh, there's a dragon." I said, "Yeah, the dragon on the outside and then the face on the inside." So that was a bit of a trigger saying, okay, well, let's look at that. What is that stress that is building up there? And, and how can we learn something through this for our consciousness evolution? So when we look at, there's this sort of consideration: is it tectonic or is it plasmic? Initially, in the very beginning, everyone was, volcanic. Okay, Santorini and the volcano. So immediately what comes in then is like, okay, there's this blemish, there's this pimple that is ready to pop because there's so much anger, repression, regression within ourselves, within humanity, and it has to come out, it has to erupt. I don't think we're now the 3rd week in, right? And nothing has really erupted yet. And then, of course, we're starting to look into, okay, so maybe it's actually, what's that, tectonic rather than volcanic. And that doesn't, look, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not gonna, make any comments that they are geology based or anything like that. But I was just interested in that. So it's not necessarily volcanic at that stage. So what is it? Tectonic. And then I was listening to one of those geology professors from the States, I think. And he was talking about the tectonic plates, right? The African plate pushing underneath, pushing against the European plate, and in particular, underneath the Aegean Sea on that plate. So if we look at this now, it's like, okay, so there is, now let's take that, a plate pushing against the other, going underneath. It's almost like the entanglement of a human being when people are pushing against you. They're pushing against your energy. You're entangling with that. Or, of course, on the other side, it's a leaving. The tectonic plate is pushing against, or it's pushing next to it or underneath it. And that for me was very interesting from a metaphorical perspective, because it's almost like, so what's pushing underneath my skin? Who or what's pushing underneath my skin or my tissue, that is actually causing that stress. And of course, it's fluid driven. Well, everything within us, 80% plus minus, is water, right? Water is connected to emotions. So for me, the first thing to look at is actually all this entanglement, all this being pushed and pulled and, connected and entangled. It screams sovereignty. It screams, humans, you have to learn to become a sovereign human being. You have to learn to untangle. You have to learn to go with the flow.
Yeah.
This is the next thing, right? But we could now talk a little bit about sovereignty, if that's if you would like to, because I don't know where you want to take it, but that's something we could talk about.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I can feel it in my heart, mind, and soul as well. It's some kind of alignment, It's like, personally, I feel that we're getting more centered, whereas before, when we talk about a split where the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere was kind of divided, whereas I feel that there is a form of alignment coming where we're becoming more heart-centered and we're becoming more conscious of the kind of signatures and markers that we are leaving behind or have left behind. So now we kind of like revisiting some aspects of the kind of markers we left, certain signatures, and neutralizing it, harmonizing. And I myself, I live in gratitude and grace every day. The minute I open my eyes, I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. I'm honored when I connect with beautiful souls like yourself, Martina. And one of the things that I've also picked up in the last couple of months, particularly, I'm not afraid to express myself as well, especially with gratitude. Whereas before I was a little bit more reserved, but the frequencies in which we're all kind of working with at the moment, it's like it's a wonderful way of expressing and thanking each other with working with these incredible energies that are coming through to us. And I'm seeing a particular picture with where we are kind of like headed towards. And what I'm feeling is that within the narrative, within the spiritual community, there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of drama, reference to, planet Earth was hijacked. We're under hostage situation with the mind control systems and whatnot. I'm okay with. I mean, I don't say it's right, it's wrong. To be very honest, as always, I'm not quite sure the level of in terms of when we talk about Mother Earth being hijacked, and because I've listened to a lot of information with reference to Dolores Cannon, and I'm sure we all have, how deep it's gone into the rabbit hole. All I know is there was a lot of suppression, and now these energies are beginning to release itself, and it's bringing us all together in this unified field of us taking greater ownership, responsibility, and accountability, rather than say the governments will help us, there is a savior, there is a guru that's going to come and help us. No, I feel that we ourselves will take greater care and take ownership of what's going to happen. I don't think, do you think does anyone really know, Martina, what is the end product, what it's going to look like in the coming weeks?
No, of course not. And how boring would that be?
Yeah.
If we'd all know how it's going to end. I mean, that's the whole, excitement about being alive, especially in kind of energy of consciousness, where we are starting to remember certain things, but we're also starting to remember that source connection, we have infinite raw potential that is waiting for us to be formed, painted, created with, and all of that. Now, bringing it back to the seismic activity is what you said, so many good words there that all fit into this, because that stress is causing, just like you said, what you're seeing in humanity now. When you start releasing something, programming, condition, it's not always a joyful process, even the release, because it brings in a lot of a letting go, a lot of sadness, a lot of grief, a lot of need for forgiveness, and all of that. So that kind of seismic activity that we're seeing there, and the stress that is associated with it, be it now volcanic or tectonic, is bringing in a lot of that need for harmonization.
Yeah.
And you brought in the heart. And for me, the heart is not associated with love. For me, the heart is associated with harmony, with creating a balance, and also with an understanding of what harmony as a frequency and vibration actually is. And it's not just something, a lovey-dovey harmony and we're all loving each other and everything is cool. No, it's a full understanding of the multidimensional aspect of the human technology, of the human physical body, of the human psyche, of the galactic human that we're actually going into. And this is like, when stuff like that happens in the collective consciousness, what happens? Look at it, Barrett. Everyone is watching it. Everyone is watching it. Well, maybe not everyone, but, I don't usually watch the news. And even I looked at that, and I mean, where is it happening? In a beautiful Aegean Sea where all these amazing, Greek islands are. So lots and lots of people have actually had their holidays there. So they left their physical imprint, the physical energetic imprint there. So what I'm seeing as well, and this is quite interesting, and it happens all the time. We've just had the full moon, the solar flares are coming in, the radiation coming in, the Schumann resonance gets all like spiked and things like that. And what does happen to anyone who's ever been in the Aegean, who hasn't harmonized and worked with the heart and worked with the self-mastery and hasn't done the sovereignty journey, they are being literally thrown up.
Yeah.
Thrown up is not the right word. They're being impacted by that and they don't even know.
No, that's very, very true. And each to their own interpretation to a point, because everybody's siphoning what they're seeing from their perspective. But more and more people, when I'm connecting with, they're saying the general consensus is that there seems to be an invitation to step up a few gears now. It's like with these activations that are coming in within our bodies, people are becoming more conscious aware, especially things in the past, because one of my favorite subjects to do with pain, because my father has always been in pain and he's always wanted to suppress his pain. A lot of people want to become numb to their pain. Whereas I build a relationship myself. I want to understand the cause. A lot of people before were trying to take some kind of medications or substances to kind of, because a lot of people, they've got this fear-based understanding what pain is. For me, the greatest pain is separation, opening your eyes and not fully understanding the essence of why we're opening and why we're closing our eyes. And that's part and partial why I decided, that's one of several reasons why I went into podcasting, to create this platform, to bring amazing beings of light like yourself, and for us to have a connection, a dialogue, and to share space and to reconnect to this feeling of guardianship. Because I always feel that although a lot of people are in this illusion that we own things, possessions and stuff like that. for me, the greatest joy is to be able to share openly and to authenticate what is real and what's not real. Because my understanding is to really connect to the real organic Wi-Fi rather than the synthetic things that is around. And I'm not knocking this synthetic, because we're using a form of synthetics at the moment, using some kind of AI to communicate. But my understanding is eventually we'll become more organic and take full ownership of understanding how this vessel works, and bringing everything into alignment, because it begins with ourselves, this because we're leaving impressions. So these impressions that we're leaving everywhere we go, is it raising the game or is it lowering the game? And it's really exciting for my take. And Martina, maybe we're on the same page. It gives me joy when I go to places like seeing Katrina's mother, and it sounds like she's in a lot of pain at the moment, and she's actually afraid. She needs someone to be close to her to make her feel at ease that she's not alone. So it's each to themselves of defining what is comfortable and what isn't comfortable. But it's amazing how we're becoming more united with difficult subjects like transitions and sicknesses and pain, and what is pain. And as you know, it's just a form of blockage, isn't it, Martina? Because whether it's an emotional, mental blockage, being traumatized most of our lives as a child, we've been sort of under the regime of our parents, with some kind of control mechanism. Now it's all being released and forgiven, because that's another thing, that with all the difficulties, we have to find a way of releasing and forgiving those who have caused a lot of pain on the planet. And it's a really, really interesting time, because I can see from my own uniqueness and opening my heart to people, and again sharing this wonderful space where this heart can be so wide open, and being transparent, and collective. It's interesting, isn't it, Martina, where we're at the moment collectively.
I mean, we are moving towards unification.
Yeah.
And we can't just make that a global statement, because not everyone is on the same journey. So we can only speak for ourselves here. And then as we starting to express our soul's truth authentically and transparently, we are starting to sort of resonate with other people who are on the same sort of frequency and vibration. The thing that I would say, you were asking, so you're talking about separation. Yeah, that is the root to all pain, be that now physically, mentally, or spiritually, because on some level, we starting to remember, or not, on some level, we subconsciously are aware that we have never been separated, that we've never been, apart from our true source connection. So the journey we are on is the journey of healing, is the journey of remembering. And lots of people, including myself, it's a journey of acknowledging. And I think that's really, really important, because lots of people do things naturally and they haven't acknowledged it yet. Yeah. So for instance, give you an example, we're talking about harmonization. Why for me the harmonization and the heart are connected. there's so many ways of looking at certain words. And for me, harmonization is actually quite significantly, it can quite significantly be described as what it is. It's like, okay, so look at consciousness. There's duality, right? Now, duality, the way we have talked about duality until now, lots of us at least, is like good, bad, happy, sad, all of those judgment calls, really. Now, once we are starting to balance those emotions out, and we as we're going through that healing journey, there is no longer good or bad.
Yeah.
Because as you say, death is not good or bad. It is what it is. Pain is what it is. And then there comes the inner journey. As you say, there's an inner journey where we have to just start reframing. For me, it's a lot of reframing, because I'm a very logical person. And for me, a change in awareness often happens by reframing certain words, by reframing certain concepts, when I start asking various questions, and that's sometimes all it is required. So, for anyone who's listening to this and thinking, okay, so how can I do this? What does harmonization of the heart mean? It's like, okay, for instance, I take you as an example, if I may, and Barrett's going to see his mother-in-law, and he's like, I'm really sad. Let's just take this as an example.
Yeah.
Now, that is a judgment call.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly okay to be sad and all of that,
Yeah.
We're not saying you shouldn't be, but then you can say, okay, so what's the opposite of that? What's the opposite of that? So it's got an electric charge. Sad is actually not a good, let's say angry. So let's say you would be angry with the world because she's been taken away for, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's got an electrical charge to it, that interacts with you, with her, with your partner, with the people in the hospice and all of that. Yeah. So as you then, find the opposite, the antidote to that, and say, well, actually, I'm not angry. I can understand the process because, I've actually educated myself. I've learned about the death process. And you don't do that just by looking at, you do that by looking at all the wisdoms out there that you can find, Then what you do when you do that, you're not making the anger wrong. You're not making the appreciation wrong, but you're creating a balance.
Yeah.
Right? And you are the one in the middle. So you got the balance going. You're the one in the middle, and call that your heart.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be open because the heart's open anyway. I'm not a big heart opener. I don't understand when people say that. Harmonize with your heart the anger and the appreciation of death.
Yeah.
Yes. And then what happens? You become that neutral, that sacred neutral energy that then becomes the catalyst for change. Because if you go with such a balanced, harmonized energy and sit next to her bed, she's going to pick that up.
Yeah.
She's going to start resonating with that. And that's so beyond words.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to hold her hand. You might not even have to go into the hospice or hospital. You might just sit on your couch and do that.
Yeah.
And this is the power of the heart. This is the power of the human being. That we have that capacity of harmonization by not making one side wrong or right, but bringing it together. And from a now scientific perspective, we're talking more and more about the vacuum. We're talking about the 0-point energy, because that's what we're creating. We're continuously, by having that kind of thought process, we're continuously creating a 0-point energy, and that 0-point energy has infinite potential to create something new.
That's very powerful, because if I may just quickly throw something in there, because what I find with the past, not so much now, a lot of people are not anchored into the present moment, because most people, when they look at themselves in the mirror, they're not happy in what they're experiencing. So they either live in the past or their future versions, but seldom do you share space like we are at the moment. I feel you're probably one of the most heart-centered um, souls I've actually converged with. And I can share space because I understand what it is. It's like whatever I've never made mistakes. I've gone through some lessons in life, and I'm very thankful for these lessons. And so when I look back in when I was younger, or I'm very grateful. Thank you for that, because where I am at the moment, I'm really excited. I'm really happy because I'm affecting every living organism. That includes the plants, the trees, the animals. It's not just the humans. Every being that's coming in contact with this vessel at the moment, this particular version, they feel centered as well. Not to be in this in a place to say black's better than white, you
Exactly.
know. And it's
Exactly.
exciting. It's exciting me, and that's why I'm getting even more and more happier. And when I get happier and start smiling more, I've noticed that people around me are smiling more. So it's this kind of engagement and this kind of conversations that I do enjoy, because it's also sharing this openness with people, that's saying it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be we're not here to knock at your door and say that's right, this is wrong. What we're saying is the symbiotic relationship of life. And I always give this fantastic example. In order to know the essence of something, you experience its opposite polarity. And then for me, the greatest gift is when you bring the left and the right into that balancedness, that you then get biofeedback. You then see what's happening around us. Is it uplifting or is it lowering? So it really is a phenomenal time to be alive right now. And I feel so alive right now. And I sometimes look at myself, hold on a minute. There's quite a lot of stuff going on, which is like, not so exciting, but then there's so many things that's going on that is so exciting. But then you bring it all, like we're saying, you bring it all to the center. And I'm really, really excited. I'm really, really happy. I'm so chuffed at the moment. This is the best time of my life, and I'm saying it to people, and so grateful and so happy. And you probably heard me sing recently as well.
Yes, very
Because
impressive.
you're too kind. I mean, and we can all sing, we can all paint, we can all do all sorts of things, and you're never too young or too old to start.
Hmm.
If that makes
Let me
sense.
ask you a question, Barrett. You're saying you have the best time of your life now, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is probably, some people would say they have the most difficult time of their life now because of what's happening in the collective, what's happening in the environment, and all of that. So let me ask you a question.
Please.
What does that say about you?
Absolutely.
And what does it say about, let me take it a bit further now. What does it say about your body, your physical body that you have chosen to come in here with?
Yeah.
So let's talk.
Yeah.
I call that
Absolutely.
technology, because technology.
Yeah. The
Say
thing that
about your technology.
Well, I'm becoming more conscious, aware of myself, and the thing that's exciting me as well, that I'm activating a part of me that's becoming less of the earth energy, more of the light energy. But that's again, it is a balance between the carbon and the crystalline, and you and feeling the multidimensionality between the two, of like when you close your eyes and when you open your eyes. So things are beginning to make more and more sense to me. This connectivity to the plasma as well, because I feel that there's a plasma activation going on, and people getting excited more when they're in my company. It's not that I'm wearing anything particularly exciting, or it's my body language, this telepathic way of communicating. Although we use words, and words have limitations, but there is a unique frequency behind the words which people are picking up. And when you're having a telepathic communication, it's because we're identifying each other as two soul beings. So I'm having a soul to soul connection, rather than looking at the outer layers of who we've been told to be. So all this is collapsing around me, and people are beginning to feel, oh, I never knew I could do this. I never knew I could do that. So that's what the feedback that I'm getting, and that's why I'm getting even more excited.
Yeah,
Uh,
because
if that,
you start emanating who you actually are, the signature frequency that you
yeah,
are is becoming easier for you. There's not even the word that is required, and people just start getting triggered, activated. Let's call it activated on
yeah,
some level, and it will trigger people too. To be honest,
yes,
it can
yeah,
piss
yeah,
people off quite a bit too, uh,
yes,
just by walking into a room. And
yeah.
this is that human beingness that we are talking about, right? Now, as you're saying, is you're becoming more light, you're appreciating the idea of the plasma activation and all of that. You know, there's less programming, there's you coming into your heart more, there's the harmonization. Do you feel more grounded or less grounded?
I feel more grounded, but at the same time, I feel that this authenticity has a way of unsettling those who are very pretentious, whether they are pretending to be happy.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to fall into a particular box, you know. And I think what's triggering people, and I've done it all my life, I don't need to do anything. It's just I'm in my beingness. So I don't need to prove my credentials that I'm something, you know. Often we need to be labeled as something so that it begins to make more sense. But for me, it's like being in the awe and ecstasy. I remember going to parties sometimes, and I've got nothing against people doing this, but you know, a lot of people, they can abuse alcohol, they can abuse drugs or whatever. I'm not hunky-dory about drugs and stuff like that, but I remember people used to come up to me and say, "What are you on?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" "Well, how comes you're so confident? How comes you're this? How comes you're that?" It's because I like being me, you
Yeah.
know, and I don't need to pretend to be something that I'm not. And I'm very sincere about it. Like if you could ask me a question, Martina, and hand on up, the biggest question for me, one of the biggest was for a long time, was like, what's the world's population? I don't really know, because I didn't do a head count. I'm kind of relying on outside sources saying there's 8 billion people. Really? I don't know. If anything, we've been like put in such dense places like cities and things. We've given like this illusion that there's scarcity. But my operating system is abundance. And what are we talking about? The real intrinsic value here is energy. How are we energizing? Because that is the real currency. And I do respect money. I really do. But I don't worship it. You know, I do respect a lot of things, but it's like you got to find a beautiful, happy medium between this and that. And that's what more and more I'm doing, and sharing space with people and bringing people, more and more people, if they're ready to do so, into alignment. we're not forcing anyone that you need to go into alignment. But when they're seeing me lit up like a Christmas tree, not necessarily loads of alcohol or drugs or whatever it is, they're like, what is it that you have that some of us don't have? You know,
Fantastic.
and it's it's exciting, and if I may say so, it takes one to know one as well. And this is what I'm saying.
No,
But
yeah.
we're meeting our tribes. You know,
I lit up one. I'm also a lit up Christmas tree. Yes.
yeah, and it's like, what do you want? And it is exciting, and I cannot. I refuse to bow down or become. And I noticed this in Austria a lot, and we got to be careful what words we use now. I've not been the most obedient person on planet. I don't necessarily follow the sheep mentality, because a lot of people, you know, you have to be seen in a certain way, to act in a certain way in order to be socially accepted. And when I first started, you know, with me putting my interpretations out there, a lot of people came back to me and said, look, I do like your movement. I like what you're saying, but I'm scared to agree with it because it's going to make me very unpopular. Because a lot of people for a long time like the idea of being popular. And for me, it's not about being popular. It's about being right, authentic, and truthful to yourself primarily first, because once you are centered and you're in that amazing place, you don't need validation, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need to say, you know, I like confirmation, I like feedback. I'm sure you do as well, Martina. I mean, we do like, and the feedback for me is the biofeedback that I get when I get a nice juicy smile. And I have no issues if you want to have a good cry, because I don't try to do regression. It's not something that I've studied. But for me, enlightenment is, do I see myself in you or don't I see myself in you? And what do I see myself? So how am I treating you? What you know, well, how intimate are you with yourself? If you're really intimate with yourself and you can have that intimacy with another being, could be an animal, it could be a cat, it could be a tree or whatever. I'm having that connection. So yeah, we're simplifying it as best we can, because for a long time life got so complicated, didn't it? With the vastness and what is out there, you kind of lose yourself in all that is around us, you know. But I'm,
you know, we started off talking about sovereignty, and you know, this is the thing: when you go onto your healing journey and you let go of your old stories and your dramas and your traumas, and you get on that healing journey, then eventually you get to the place of sovereignty, where you are no longer at the mercy of anyone's validation, as you say.
yeah,
There's no more validation that is required, because you are validating yourself from that intimate space of presence that you actually, you know, emanating. You know, but this is an interesting one too, because once you get to that stage, and, you know, when you have been used to the triggers of having challenges and overcoming challenges and learning that hardship makes you, it's got to be hard in order for you to achieve things and all of that. And all of a sudden you get into that space where, let's call it harmonized space, balanced space, sacred neutral space. It's like, okay, what the hell? How do I create from here?
yeah.
What is your experience with that when you say, so how do I create now? Because I don't need to go out anymore. I didn't need to, you know, and that's when we step into that space of joy. And the thing is, when you come through a tough journey of, you know, conditioning and programming, joy or bliss or fun even is almost like, what the hell is that? What does it mean? And this is obviously where the question comes in, and the practice to a certain extent, and the mirror again, was okay, let me look at, so that's fun for this person. That's interesting. It's obviously not fun for me.
Yeah.
Now, what is fun for me? Or what is not fun for me? And then take that not and turn it over, that sort of curious analysis, curious exploration. So this is why my show is called a Consciousness Exploration, because I am a consciousness explorer. And that is, for me, that's expansive enough, because that covers the space-time continuum, at least, and the beyond to a certain, extent, where I can play time and space, its limitations in the beginning, and then how can I go beyond those limitations and come into that expanded space? And of course, what happens then, and I'm finished in a second, is like, once you're in this expanded space, the planet Earth is almost not enough for you to play with anymore, because your pattern recognition has just expanded beyond what you actually able not experience at all. But you've got to go outside. You've got to look at the galactic and the solar system and the galaxy and the universe, and then take those curious findings, bring them back, ground them in here, and then play a much bigger game. But I would also say, the same as you, when you go out there and you're collecting all this light and you become lighter and more joyful, it doesn't mean that you're taking off. You're not leaving the planet. You're becoming more and more grounded. So for me, grounding has nothing to do with, putting my roots into the earth, because this is what I've already done. Otherwise I wouldn't be here. I'm breathing. So my roots are up here. I am the antenna. I am connected to the Earth's black hole. I am connected to the sun. I've got my own black holes everywhere you can think of. I understand all that. The question now is, we have to redefine grounding. We have to redefine heart opening. Heart opening for me makes absolutely no sense. I never understood the heart opening. Because for me, it's like, why would I let energy flow out of me, or have a door that energy can come in me? Why would I need this? I have my own energy because I'm connected to source. I do not want to flow energy to you because I honor and respect you as a human being who has their own energy connection to the source. So for me, that is totally boundary violation, that heart opening business. For me, the understanding is different. For me, the understanding is, you make sure that you're strengthening that harmony within, that you understand the 0 point energy, that you understand that once you connect your mind, your body, your gut, and your heart in total coherence, transparency, authenticity, then you start growing your wings on the back, your heart wings. And just imagine, Barrett, that you will be in the same room and I give you a hug with my heart wings. Or I give you a heart with my open heart. Have it, have it, have it, have it. You probably run a fucking mile. And that's the thing. And what is this? It's ignorance. This is years I couldn't be talking about the heart, because I needed a different definition, a different understanding. And it's taken me until now. Now I can start talking about that, because now I have that understanding, that dynamics, and even technicalities. How does the heart work? The heart has a pericardium. The heart's in the pericardium. The heart has its own bloody protection. It needs nobody else's protection.
Well, I agree. And there's such a myth out there as well, the level of conditionality as well. I didn't need to unlearn a lot of the stuff. For me, one of the things that has really kept me in good check is lack of competition. I didn't feel as though I needed to compete with anyone. I never felt as though I need to be stronger or wiser or pretending. Again, this word pretentiousness. I understand, and I genuinely believe that you reap what you sow to a point. Um, Everything is energy, so you have to be very conscious of how you're associating yourself with certain things, because everything gives merit, and my understanding is spiritual merit. For example, for some, it's not easy to practice unconditionality. For me, it's an honor to save people, even from a business perspective. Not being a value destroyer, a value builder, is because I'm not trying to persuade you to believe in what I'm doing is the correct one. All I'm saying to people is what I'm doing is keeping me in good stead. And I'm just sharing what's working for me. So I'm not imposing on you. So let me just define something and make it clear to the viewers out there. This movement, this stance, this whatever you want to call it that we're doing, this activation, first of all, its precept is based on cause no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose on the freedom of others. And it's really understanding what natural law is all about. And I've always had a feeling towards nature. I've always had a fascination towards being in areas where there's lots of trees, and I love the sound of water. And I've always been pulled to these places. But equally, I can go into a major city and I'd be okay for a while. I wouldn't say, if I had a choice between the two, I'd rather be living in with nature and then sort of visiting a busy environment rather than the other way around. But it's not for me to say everyone should live in nature, or everyone should live in a busy city sort of place. But I feel that it's important to have a balance, and to be very conscious of, because the way I work is I try to, if not try is not the right word, but if, for example, I feel that you want me to help you in any shape or form, I'll try and save you time, money, and energy if that's important. From a business perspective, that's great, because I try to understand your objective. In life, what is your objective? What is the end game? Where do you want to get to? Because people are always in a hurry to get places. But okay, let's just remove all that. But what is the grand finale to all this? And the other big trillion-dollar question has always, from my point of view, because she listens to a lot of my podcasts and things. And I said to people, is it natural to age? Is this body meant to age the way it does, and prematurely for some more than others? But I think if you're going against the current and not going with the flow, it's causing friction. So it's nice to be in the flow, and it's nice to be in a place where you're connected to the understanding that you're not an accident. There is a profound purpose in your movement, and to become more conscious aware, and understanding that there are galactic beings, there are higher beings converging with our energies, and to be receptive, to be open. So I've always had this thing, being open-minded. I've never knocked religion. I'm not saying religion is a bad thing. I'm not saying it's necessarily a good thing. What I'm saying is that I can only share with people what my practices are, and come and share space with me, and know what it really feels like to be me.
Exactly.
And that's the name of the game, I think, Martina.
And what if that is more than more than enough.
I think so. It's been
Exactly.
it's been so wonderful to share space with you, and I'm sure we'll get the chance in the foreseeable future to reconnect again. But in the meantime, thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing. I'd love to talk more about your art as well, because I do see posts of your beautiful works of art, and I'd love to, have a connection and talk about that maybe in the foreseeable future.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for inviting me, and all the best for your mum-in-law. And
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will write and see you again in the foreseeable future.
All right, my darling. Thank you, Barrett. Take care.
Bioactivator would like to thank you for your kind support and donations. Through Barrett Tunian's guardianship of this platform, his activation of truth harmonizes, neutralizes, and unblocks the meridians that connect, balance, and purify all that comes in contact. Do no harm is the key that fully opens the heart's voice to be in the union of the I Am presence, and will represent every living organism on the planet whose voice would otherwise not be heard. Remember, the truth will set you free. Do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others. Love, light, and gratitude.